Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on a lovely afternoon here in Italy at Lamborghini's Squadra Corsa department, but to go for a drive in this, the last hurrah of the Aventador, the Aventador Ultimae LP780-4. This is the Ultimae Roadster, one of only 250 that they are making in total for customers. There are 350 coupes. It is particularly stunning in this lovely shade of blue in the afternoon sun, but we've got a little bit of time to take in the car in detail. We'll go through it inside and out, but head out onto the roads as well to experience what it's like, that 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12. I think this is going to be quite good fun. Let's get straight into it then. The Lamborghini Aventador Ultimae. I think it's safe to say that over the last decade there have been fewer more iconic supercars than the Lamborghini Aventador. It followed a big history, the Lamborghini Miura, Countach, Diablo, Murcielago, and then about a decade ago we had the arrival of the original Aventador, the LP700. It's been a big part of the history of my channel as well. Many videos of the different iterations over the years. We had the SV, the track focus Super Veloce, then the update came with the Aventador S, more recently the SVJ, the Super Veloce Yota, and a number of special editions with liveries, different designs, different styles along the way. And now we have this Ultimae, the last, the final, the very last hurrah to this platform, preparing for what comes next, and one of the most limited as well. The 350 coupes and the 250 roadsters, in this case being the convertible. You have the two Targa panels which are manually removable. You stow them away in the storage space up front, and perhaps we'll reverse the process and close it up a little bit later on. But this is a car that is different in its own way. It's less extreme than the SVJ. It's a little bit more extreme, however, than the regular Aventador S. If we take a look at some of the design elements and the features of this particularly beautiful example, at the front you have the bumper akin to the Aventador S, so these blades that cut in, although in the contrast with that silver accent as well. The lower carbon lip, but not quite as extreme as the SVJ's front. However, come to the side, it's all SVJ. These very, very large intakes for the cooling of the engine. Look at the paintwork with this, well, dual tone blue that we have, the LP780-4 designation, and these quite aggressive carbon side skirts running along as well. Similar story at the back, obviously no gigantic fixed wing over the top, the more traditional active spoiler smoothly there in the bodywork, but very much all about the diffuser, those blades that you can see highlighted again with the accent pinstripes, and the rather large and mean exhaust tailpipes we've got there. Look how open it is for the cooling back here as well. But that very, very iconic wedge design, it has always been the way with Lamborghinis. It is so definitive, and I've often said if you ask a child to draw a supercar, this is what they would draw. The Ultimae, as I said though, is the end of an era, the end of a chapter, preparing for what's going to come next, a hybrid V12, the next platform, the next steps onwards from here. Let's come and take a look at the interior though, because of course it's a car that did arrive about 10 years ago initially, when the first generation of the Aventador was introduced, and obviously that means this car is still based on that. You still have that robotized manual gearbox, the automated manual. It's not a double clutch, it's much more involving, much more dramatic, but takes some getting used to. But then you also still have this, the beating heart, the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12, in this case 780 horsepower, and thanks to the four-wheel drive system, that means your 0 to 100 km/h sprint, 62 miles an hour, is just 2.8 seconds. 0 to 200 km an hour, or 124 miles per hour, is dispatched in only 8.7 seconds, and the top speed is in excess of 355 km an hour, over 221 miles per hour. Now I'm going to take a seat inside, but you've got a few distinct touches. You've got the mix of the leather and Alcantara, these Ypsilon shapes that you find throughout Lamborghinis, the Ultimae embroidery on the side bolster, the Lamborghini headrest. In fact, I want to show you just here something. I might need to close the door to see this properly, but just inside, as always with the limited models, you have one of 250. They're not individually numbered, just one of the 250 cars of the Ultimae Roadster, as they had with the previous models. Always the Roadsters being slightly more rare than the coupes. The SV, it was 600 coupes, 500 Roadsters. The SVJ, 900 coupes, 800 Roadsters, and these 350 and 250 respectively. The doors are a big part of it. Those dihedral doors opening outwards, and then you sit inside, and it's all about the drama. It's evolved over time. Some of the switchgear is still as it was, but we do now have the digital displays. You still have this Lovely flick switch. You always feel the sense of occasion as you start the car up. Let's take a listen to it. Amazing. And obviously they introduced the different modes as well. Well, they always had Strada, Sport and Corsa, but launching Ego, which is your configurable mode, allowing you to set it exactly as you would like. Let's just close the door down for the time being. So we've got that central dash. It changes depending what mode you're in. But you know what a big part of this car is? A very big part is that. And we're going to hear a lot of that thanks to having the roof completely open. In fact, sitting in here is a crazy sensation. The way that windshield feels like it almost goes straight out in front of you. It's very aggressively angled and you're cocooned inside, almost like a gigantic sunroof opened above you with a little bit of a view through out over the back, over the top of the engine bay. But this is it. This is the Aventador Ultimae Roadster. My last drive in a new Lamborghini Aventador model. Let's head on out and go see what it's like on the road. Let us make our way then out of the industrial estate where we are beginning to go and find some enjoyable bits of tarmac here near to the Lamborghini factory in Sant'agata Bolognese in Italy. Now, having driven a fair few Aventadors before, if you're familiar with the cars, you probably know that by current standards, I think it's fair to say that the gearbox is slightly lagging behind. The car features what was the state of the art at the time it was originally introduced, but effectively the single clutch automated manual, which compared to faster, modern, lightweight dual clutches is a little bit laggy, we can say. You need to be driving it like a manual, fluctuating the throttle pedal, and don't get me wrong, they have massively improved over the years. This is significantly better than they were at the time, but in Strada and in automatic, it's a little bit unpredictable and lethargic, and I don't think I'm being unreasonable describing it that way. However, we will get it through the driving modes, we will open it up a little bit more. Yeah, this is where I just want it to not shift yet. Give me a little bit more go before you do that. Right, let's close up the windows. We've got one touch for the driver, I'm gonna hold it for the passenger side. So up to this point, you haven't really heard a whole lot of Aventador exhaust, because in Strada, obviously with modern regulations, it's a modern car at the end of the day, it has to basically keep that exhaust valve closed pretty much all of the time, unfortunately, which means not so much fun. However, in the center, we can press the button here, go into sport mode, everything sharpens up. I'm actually going to press M to take it into manual, and we can start to enjoy a little bit more of what this car is about. And that is where, goodness me, there's nothing else quite like this. You know, driving an Aventador Roadster, and it does feel like you have a large sunroof over your head. I apologise for the inevitable wind noise that you can probably hear over the top of that, but come to Italy and drive a convertible Aventador and keep the roof on in the sunshine, you're probably doing something a little bit wrong. Like this though, even though it's a pretty tight road, I suppose I've accustomed slightly to the size of an Aventador, because this is, well, if a bus came the other way or a truck or something, it wouldn't be particularly pleasant, but like this, it's not so bad. I'm just gonna warm it up. Gosh, it's just 4,000 RPM. Those bangs on the shift. But the ride, even though this bit of tarmac is particularly rough, isn't actually all that bad, it has to be said. So first impressions over the first kilometre or two, we're going to head a little bit further away, go find some nice places to enjoy a bit more of this, and have plenty of that to take in today. Pulled over for a moment with the car where we are at the moment and have a look at this. The view is breathtaking, so Italian, so spectacular. What a place to be driving with such an Italian supercar. But what I would like to show you now is the process to reinstall the roof, and then we'll experience driving it back down from here with the roof on, so without the wind in the hair. But the first thing one needs to do is pop open the front, because it is in here that you can store away the two roof panels. So we have them, they sit one above the other, passenger side first. They're held on by a couple of different latches, so you have to basically unclip it, pop it out from the bottom as well, and then take this around to go and install it. And the way you do this is from the front first, putting in these pins It's actually not as complicated as I'm going to make it look. And then at the back, you pull the latch inside, press it down, lock it into place, job done. Just like that. And then to get the one for the other side, you unfold that out the way. You've got the lower ones as well. Pop this out, just make sure I do it correctly. Just like this. It's actually not that complicated, has to be said. I remember the first time ever trying to do this, and it was quite the jigsaw. Showing it quite a few years ago now. That goes in, find the right point, open the latch socket for it. Is that right? Yep, there we go. And lock it into place. Done, it's just like that. Come back round, close the bonnet, and then we have our hardtop coupe Aventador Ultimae, effectively. Not quite, a little bit different, and you can still put down the rear window, which makes it even better. Let's hop back on board and continue the drive. Even with the car still in eco mode, so Corsa powertrain, it is so much quieter. Now we've come down a little bit, and thankfully some slightly smoother roads than we had up top. But one convenient thing that we have now is that just here to the right of the steering column is the button for the rear window. So you can pop that up and down, and then effectively have, well, kind of all the noise, but you do hear it quite differently without obviously getting sunburnt or too much wind in the hair. Now, if it's raining, as a Brit, which it often is, this is quite a nice middle solution. There are so many things about the Aventador, I mean, everywhere it goes, people just stop and stare. Those guys on the left there were just completely, I think, awestruck by what they were looking at. The thing with this car is, it's evolved, yes, but it's still an Aventador. You know, it's still pretty big, heavy. It's just a little bit sillier than it used to be, you know? It's got more radical in its design. It's got more, I think, dramatic even in the sound, I would say. The sound was so different to the Murcielago that had come before when the Aventador LB700 originally dropped. Those noises are just ridiculous, to be honest. Absolutely and totally ridiculous. There isn't really any chilling out, even if you close the rear window. Obviously you could go back into auto, but I tend to find even if you're wanting to drive in a chilled way, you're still better off just popping it back into Strada and being manual, driving it yourself, you know, being in charge, because then you don't get caught out by this kind of clunkiness waiting for it, waiting for the car to shift up. It does ride, considering the weight, over these bumps better than you might think, but you're very aware that it's a massive lump, you know, it's a big old thing. There's no hiding that anywhere, and especially the width down some of these narrow roads as well. But hey, I'm not complaining, because it's about the drama, it's about the experience, and I bet you now, the next generation, while it will be significantly further ahead in terms of technology, hybrid, maybe dual clutch, whatever it is, it won't have this rawness, it won't have this edginess, it won't have this OMG factor, what am I driving? I mean, look, everywhere you go, I bet they're about to... Oh, that's it, you can't even rev it anymore. You can't even rev it, you can't put it in neutral and rev it. That's so disappointing. What about if I'm in Corsa? Into neutral? Nope, that's it. They have stopped you revving the car. I'm sure this is regulation, unfortunately. You see, even at that stage, right? It is what it is. You can't change it. What I was going to say, though, about the rawness and the sheer insanity of it, that's not coming again. We've gone from the twisty roads to having spent the last bit of time basically in a traffic jam. Thankfully, it's now opened up again, but I can tell you this car in a traffic jam is a bit of a disaster. The first gear is super clunky and just awkward, and you shuffle forward and it's unpleasant. Obviously, it needs good brakes because it's a big old hefty thing. But yeah, oh, you have stop-start as well, as you can hear, which always just feels wrong in a car like this. But nonetheless, driving it, takes some getting used to. Would I want to go on a very long road trip in an Aventador? Not really. Nothing specific to the Ultimae, just the car in general. Not exactly a load of practicality, not particularly comfortable, although these more comfortable seats are much better than the bucket type seats and better than the sports seat in my STO, I would argue. The SVJ style fixed bucket, not so much. And you just have to get used to it, learn it, adapt to it. It's never going to be perfect, but that's, again, not the point. The car isn't supposed to be perfect. The car is supposed to be a silly experience, and that's what it does so well. Unfortunately, it looks like it might take a while for us to get out of this junction. There was I all excited about a nice little acceleration away from here. I suspect we will head back to base, and I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about inside the car. We're free! Back in Strada mode. You don't get all of those mad pops and bangs and all of that. But yeah, with the sun setting, we will head back to Squadra Corsa. That has been quite the experience, but we're back now at Squadra Corsa. What a place to be starting and ending today's drive with the Ultimae Roadster, and also, I suppose, taking a look at it with the roof in place, with those Targa panels positioned atop the cabin. You just have that clean, smooth line over the top. That's what gives it such a distinct shape, that wedge shape, continuing the line of the Lamborghini V12s, running way back, but always making these cars that stand out so much. And this is just a tidy balance visually in terms of the different elements of the car, you know, without having a gigantic spoiler at the back and too much going on at the front splitter, but still clearly looking like it means business. I mean, all Lamborghinis mean business. 780 horsepower. I will point out today that we have actually been running on Soto Zero winter tyres, considering the time of year. The car is currently running on those, so that changes the dynamics a little bit. It would feel even more planted on some summer stickier rubber, or even on some proper track rubber, to be honest, where a beast like this needs to be fully manhandled, but when you do, certainly rewards as a result. I didn't mention earlier, but also up here you've got the deck and intake style of the SVJ as well, and just this really cool view. Everything is angular and aggressive, and the shapes and the lines, they're edgy. Look at, for example, each intake line. You know, you've got some of these standout areas, and even the wheel arch surround isn't smooth. It's a little bit, you know, cut and edgy in strange angles, which is something that no other company would do. It's just the Lamborghini way, and it works so very well on these cars. Obviously, as a result, well, I have enjoyed driving this, no lie about that. Obviously, it doesn't suit the traffic jams perhaps the best. It is, to quote what I've just been told, a lion in a cage. It needs to be unleashed, it needs to be driven, and it certainly feels that way. But when you do drive it, there is nothing as exciting as that, and there probably never will be again. And that's quite sad, but why we have this last hurrah of the Lamborghini Aventador. There will be 600 very lucky Ultimae customers, I'm sure, in the future. These are going to be ones to keep a hold of and to watch out for, because no doubt the last of this generation is going to be something that a lot of us look back at fondly. For now though, that is all. Thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I appreciate your support an awful lot, and I hope you've enjoyed this full drive and in-depth look at the Lamborghini Aventador Ultimae Roadster. That's it for now though, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!